buttons to cover both of them.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot in common, I guess, but like
And
you don't really have like a boxer fighting
no
in the UFC or something.
I mean,
all the electronics are fine.
I was just wondering what it looked like on the screen.
It looked better honestly without that mix.
Somebody made a shaker without a screw box. What we're playing that.
I'll just continue my Winter Olympics ritual of getting drunk and watching hockey on a weeknight.
you can go grab Dave really quick. Somebody, anybody. Nah, just because something, our theme music went missing from this computer. And that's bad. I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to pull that thing.
I'm aware of this.
Yeah, our theme music went missing. So, and I don't know, Sam broadcaster that also.
I like the
I
fancy
think I
gold.
need a toaster.
I mean, this is.
I know, but still.
Yeah, I figured before I freaked out and went to the email and resended it.
Sorry.
Maybe we have a 3 instead of.
No, I think so.
Oh. And I'm supposed to say. Yep.
Take your drink. Because I was nervous about it on the corner of that low table at about knee height.
You got the Dark Hershey book up? Alright, good. You should be sitting here.
Oh, sure.
Switch seats
Everybody
with you.
slide around, swap around.
Move all my drinks.
Yeah.
We're going to be here for an hour and a half, so I better.
I'll let Dave get this sorted really quick. I'm going to step outside and write a quick what we're doing today for myself.
I'd recommend that because we're almost out of time. So.
Yep.
You know what's up.
Thank you, bud.
Alright then. Let's make sure everything's in order here. Might be a bit loud. Hell, can you pass me the monster manual?
Oh, it's okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you, love. Welcome to the pre-show, everybody, where nothing is happening. Please bear with us. The pages of this book are...
We're always a few minutes off whenever we do ours.
Artichoke.
Excellent.
Make things happen.
Yep.
Thank you, Ken.
Snake things happen.
Just set that down somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. Thank you, Conley.
These are your headphones. These are mine. Oh, yeah, we is going.
Kind of
Are we shared to the physician group yet?
Nope.
That's fine. In that case, most of our audience isn't here yet, so rip us. I'll just send out one last text
Ooh,
to
I have
all my
chips, but that's
family
a very
circle.
bad podcasting snack etiquette.
Okay, now we're technically in live pre-show.
Excellent. We're in the pre-show.
Chips, the worst podcasting snack. I'm not gonna do those. I really got myself.
Although it's like the shortest pre-show in the history of all of our pre-shows.
It's fine. Whatever.
I'm
We
just
spent.
sharing it and we're going.
You weren't there for me saying, huh, as I paged through the monster manual, which is our pre-show now.
Huh.
I hadn't actually seen the new Lamia page, which is strange because I own a copy of the monster manual, but
Just not a big enough nerd to read all of it, I see. Hi
Yeah,
there,
well,
Paul.
the
Fake
only
gamer.
monster manual I've read cover to cover is the first edition and third edition ones, so sue me.
Fair. I mean, are they? Yeah, I bet they're interestingly written. I've paged through Jake's Money Manual a little bit.
Yeah, there's some
Or
interesting stuff in there.
PDF,
There's
like a pirate.
also interesting to 13-year-old me. The nymph has her boobies out, so
Cartoon. Thank you. I'm blessed with being able to look straight down, but no,
I was
it's too cold for that right now.
I mean, frankly, I mostly actually stayed away from that page just because I figured it raised too many awkward questions, which unfortunately means that it was hard to read ogres because the first half of the ogre stat block is right next to it.
Well, yeah, dude, they're ogres though. Even
Ogres are
players,
great. I don't know what
to
you're
be fair.
talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They're big, stupid people,
They
which
love
means
to
you can use
punch.
them like people but are stupid.
Yeah, no, and honestly though, like I guess ogres and trolls are different things in D&D, but all-time favorite scene with ogres and or trolls is in The Hobbit with Bill, Tom, and
My favorite scene with ogres is
Final correction.
Shrek.
fair. That's a whole film.
Ogres have layers.
It's a masterpiece.
It's truly
the
the-
great tequila fiasco of 2018.
The best,
Rip our tablecloth.
the great fiasco.
I've just been flipping and flopping all of my hands all over everywhere, so I'm going to like.
Just careful. Keep your drinks away from your
Yeah.
keyboard just in case.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Also, good thing this is lighter than my old laptop, so I can.
All right,
Truck it
pre-show's
up to the
over.
ceiling.
All right, guys, let's do this.
Locking the talk button. Making the encoders do the encoding thing.
Are we all on camera, by the way, or am I off camera?
I'm hoping so.
I hope so, too. If I'm
We'll
off
make
camera, no one's
adjustments
missing
on the
anything,
fly.
so my voice is still here. I'm still loud.
Okay. Yep, that'll be perfect. All right. And going.
All right, everybody, welcome to 3DM's podcast. I'm Jake, joined as per usual by Helen and Paul because Clint doesn't like us.
No, he's again.
He's a very busy boy.
Nachos replaced us as has
He-
replaced him as our.
He's a very busy
Third
boy
host
these days. But joining us today, we have Jim from the Undercard Hand Combat Radio,
Hey, how you doing?
and also a D&D enthusiast. So that's going to make doing this cross show very helpful because otherwise, if you didn't know a damn thing about D&D, this would
That
be a
would be-
really awkward show.
Very awkward.
Having a podcast network only works when you have
A
something
bunch of
interesting.
nerd shit.
A bunch of nerd stuff going on in this room. So before we launch into it, we record at the Podcast Detroit studios in Royal Oak, Michigan. If you ever want to start your own podcast and you live in the southeastern Michigan area, it's just as easy as coming on down, going to the website, or however you want to do it and getting your own show set up. Super easy, super affordable, really fun. If you ever want to start your own podcast, check out Podcast Detroit if you're in the southeastern Michigan area. Also, as per usual, at the start of every week, we are going to remind everybody we got a giveaway going on. We're trying to get to 500 likes on our Facebook page.
We are only 15 likes.
Yeah, 15 away
No.
from halfway there.
Yeah, 15 away from
Living
halfway
on a
there.
prayer, things like that.
All right, that's enough of that.
And yeah, so head to our Facebook page, give us a like, and once we hit 500 likes, we're going to give away 2 D&D books to 2 people who have liked our Facebook page.
One each.
One-
Not two to each person.
Yeah, 1 book to each person.
We'll sign them if you want, but no special editions, we're afraid. It's too expensive. We're not willing to snipe an eBay auction for you.
Yeah, we love you, but not that much. And so, yeah, all that stuff's out of the way. Let's get...
What is your Facebook page?
The
What would I type into the address bar?
Thanks, Jim. You've been doing this a lot longer than we have. 3DMs Podcast on Facebook. Find us, like us, love us.
So it would be www.facebook.com/3,
the word,
letters.
DMS Podcast. And we'll be there.
Yes,
Gotcha.
indeed.
All right.
We just got a
Good
nice
to know.
new logo.
See? Yeah, we got a nice new logo. You can come check it out. It's very pretty.
Excellent.
So, launching into this week's show, we're going to be doing Villains 2 Electric Boogaloo, following up our very theory-heavy discussion we had on the day Paul and I almost died on the highway.
Oh my
Sorry
God,
we couldn't
don't
be
remind me.
here last week because there
It was worse.
Yeah, there was about 8 inches of snow on the road, and no one wanted to drive. Yeah. So,
It was bad with only 4 inches. I don't want to even imagine it would be like with 8 inches.
yeah, it was straight misery.
It
But
doesn't fill all the potholes all the way.
yeah, we're back. Yeah, it just makes them harder to find. Then you lose your axle. So we're back. We're doing Villains 2, but we have Jim from the undercard.
Sorry, I'm just talking about 8 inches. Doesn't fill it all the way in my mind. Just going.
Straight to
just
the
going.
gutter.
Yeah, straight to the gutter.
I thought about
For
that.
a
I
clean
figured I wouldn't
podcast,
say anything.
I've accidentally used up all our swearing for the last 3 weeks, so
Yeah, no, it's just in one 5-minute swoop. Just so many
sorry.
F-bombs.
I have feelings about
That's fine.
about
That's why the
the Agincourt
FCC doesn't
campaign.
regulate internet podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Yet.
Well, let's
I
hope
wouldn't
not.
trust those guys to.
But anyways, so Jim, we got you here today.
Yes.
Let's tell everybody your history with the illustrious game of D&D.
Okay, well, let's see. The first time I played D&D was in high school, so I was probably, I want to say like a junior in high school, so I believe that was 2nd edition. Could
Best
be,
edition.
could be off. I debate on that, but that was my introduction to dice rolling role playing games. I didn't play it for very long because the group that I was playing with, between sports and other things going on, it was just way too hard to get together. So it kind of lasted for about 6 months, and then it kind of fizzled out. And then I didn't play any kind of role-playing games for a while until I was in college. And then I actually played Legend of the Five Rings.
Oh, excellent choice. Excellent.
And 7th Sea. And I played those for a while. Vampire the Masquerade, Oblivion, all those games.
Yeah.
Is that
didn't-
Wraith the Oblivion? or-
Wraith the Oblivion,
Yes,
yeah. And then life got in the way, and I didn't really play for a while until about 2 years ago. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, I'm running a D&D game on Friday nights. We need another person. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Man, I haven't played in a long time. Yeah, I'd be interested." So I started playing on the Friday night game. My first character was a dragonborn sorcerer.
There you go.
An
No,
excellent choice.
actually, I take that back. My first character was a half-elf sorcerer who blew himself up to destroy a lich, and then I made a dragonborn sorcerer as the follow-up to that. And I've been DMing now for about a year, off and on, between one-shots and a campaign. I'm running a Friday night campaign, and then I also play usually on a Sunday game.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, thank you for skipping your campaign to be with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, like I said, and it's Strahd, so everybody's going to die anyways. So,
Spoiler.
I'm just waiting for that day that I get a text
Vampires
message saying, "Yeah, TPK, just roll a new character. We're starting a new campaign next week."
Are you sure you're not going to be the only survivor who's there to tell the newbies how it was done?
Maybe, I don't know.
Or
I don't.
your character survived but has no idea what happened to
Well,
everyone else.
the DM and I don't really get along. He's very antagonistic in his approach, and
Is he villainous, you might say?
he is slightly villainous. Yeah, his whole philosophy is
Not that you would-
we are all his puppets, and we are there as his playthings.
That's
That's no fun.
appropriate for Strahd, but not much fun
but,
to play.
But
I
that's
have to tell ya.
that's just the way that he is, not as Strahd. Just the way that he is. He runs all of his campaigns that way.
That's less good.
Yeah, and when he told me to roll for a new character, I said, "Is anything off the table?" He said, "No." So I came in with an Asimir I forget. I forget what
Describe.
race I am.
Asmar?
Asimir is the angels.
Yeah, it's
they're
the,
celestials.
As tieflings are to demons, Asmar are to
Yeah. So what he did
angels.
was he didn't like that I chose an Asimir, so he decided that when the mists of Ravenloft swooped me in, it transformed me into a tiefling.
Wow, that's rude.
Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
a strong decision.
Yeah, and
Play
I
whatever
was
you
like,
want,
I
except
was
for that.
okay. I was okay with that. To a certain extent, I decided that, you know what? If you're gonna make me demonic, I'm gonna be fucking demonic.
There you
So
go.
then I became kind of the evil character of the group, and then kind of backed off from it a little bit.
I get that.
Yeah.
Tieflings.
Oh,
it's-
we did start the groups because there's a lot of like children that are in trouble in Ravenloft.
Yeah.
So we started this whole thing. It became a running joke where we are Barovia CPS. Like anytime we go anywhere, if there is a child endangered, if there's something going on, we don't care about what else is going on. We are going and saving that
You go
child.
for the-
So far, we have saved 8.
So you're saying you're
Nice.
better than actual CPS?
Yes,
unfortunately.
exactly. we are more
You get shit done.
effective than regular CPS
We're
because
sorry,
we will
CPS.
kill MFers if we have to.
Swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Reinhardt comments there's a tiefling being played in Critical Role, and yes, tieflings are hot. I also play a tiefling.
Yeah.
So I'm winking at the camera. for
Personally, I
the
like
podcast later.
I like Asmar myself.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, I do
I
too.
thought
I
it
thought
was
they were kind of neat, and I love the new classes and characters on Critical Role too.
Yeah.
That is probably one of my favorite shows that with like D&D or whatever. It really got me. Like, I was playing a little bit on the Friday nights, and then I heard about Critical Role and I started watching it, and that's what really sucked me back in because I'm an actor. I've done acting almost my entire life, off and on, and having voice actors doing it, I'm like, yes, I
It's so
love
good.
this.
Oh, yeah.
I love this.
It's
yeah.
a role-playing game.
It
It's a
is.
lot
Yeah.
more
I mean,
fun when you
it's-
actually
Hell, might
listen
have to have you back on more often just to keep everybody informed on Critical Role because
I don't
I'm,
watch Critical
I'm
Role.
I'm a really busy guy and it's just hard to stuff a 3-hour episode each week.
Oh,
into my schedule.
I binged watched the entire first campaign,
Jeez.
watched it all, and then in the downtime between the first campaign and the second campaign, I started binge watching again, and I just finished. Like last night, I just finished campaign 1 again, but I've been also watching campaign 2 as it happens on Twitch, usually late on Thursday nights.
That's dedication.
Then
you
I,
can't
then
buy.
I feel horrible the next morning because I only get 3 hours of sleep.
Oh,
But
don't
it's
remember.
worth it.
Oh, definitely worth it.
Yeah, Dan Reinhardt also comments, do what I do, listen to the podcast, listen to the episodes like a podcast while you work. And yeah, that's,
Yes.
I am blessed also with a job where you can do that. So it's
Sadly, I
perfect.
work
Yeah.
construction, so if we're not listening to hip hop or metal, then everyone's
listening
just
to
Yeah.
anything.
then we're not listening to anything.
Right.
If
Well,
I were
you're
to
listening to each other shouting.
guys, you want to listen to D&D for a bit? We're trying to build a damn wall.
right.
We don't have time for that.
No, I drive around a lot for my job, so when I'm in the car, I just have the podcast or YouTube or whatever up on, plugged into the sound system, and sometimes I'll get weird looks when I stop at red lights, and people are like, "What the hell is he listening to?" Because all of a sudden out of the car you hear, "Ah!" and it's
Yeah.
like, "What?"
or something silly happens and you're
Yeah, and you're laughing your
You're
ass
just like,
off.
oh, you're,
Yeah,
if you're
or
a
I'm
crazy person.
or I'm bawling my eyes out because something sad has happened.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is that podcasts are getting more accepted in our
yeah.
society
Yeah.
as time goes on.
Oh
so
yeah,
People know what podcasts
It's going to be less
are.
of an issue in the future.
yeah, agree.
The future. So,
The future is bright.
also, yeah, you did serve in the military, which is
I did.
neat.
You're wearing a hat.
Happy about
I-
that.
I,
One
Did you
tour, too?
you have any fun D&D stories? Did you play any at all?
Well,
while you
we
were-
didn't play D&D when we were overseas, but my lieutenant had a ton of Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh, okay.
So, and there were a lot of other guys that had Magic the Gathering too. So we would have Magic tournaments, and there was one night where we were in the oh god, I can't even think of it because we were on a little tiny base in the middle of frickin' nowhere, like surrounded by mountains.
Yeah.
So we
Welcome
weren't
to
on
Afghanistan.
Yeah, we weren't on like a big base. So we had just basically little tents that we slept in, we ate in, we had our recreation or whatever, and so we would go in there and we were playing Magic the Gathering, and we heard this noise, and we were like, it sounded like if you guys know what a connex is, big shipping container,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
metal shipping container. It sounded like a Connex had fallen onto the ground. It was just this loud crash sound, and everybody's like, "What the heck was that?" And then we hear running, and we're like, "What is going on?" So we poke our heads, and they're like, "We got incoming fire." We're like, "Oh shit, maybe we should get to a bunker." So we ran to the bunker. We bunkered down. Like 2 more came in, and then it stopped. And then like immediately we dusted ourselves off. We walked back, and we started playing Magic the Gathering again, just like nothing had happened.
So,
you know?
question:
Yeah.
since I'm the only one of these three actually knows about Magic, what format did you guys play?
I honestly don't know because I didn't buy the cards. My lieutenant just had like 5, 6, 7 binders just full of cards,
my
and
gosh.
he gave me a deck and just said, "This is what you're going to play with."
Okay, that's
and I'm
fine.
like, "Okay, fine." And I mean, and I had
So
played
kitchen
Magic.
table, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't played Magic in a long time. And so I was like really rusty with it. So I lost like almost all the time.
Happens.
But I didn't care. I was just a way to kill time, you
Oh, yeah.
know?
I mean, there's a lot of time to waste in the desert, I
That
understand.
and watching movies and playing Nintendo 3DS, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh, yeah.
Were like the 3 like activities that I did the most as like, you know, leisure time.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that brings some
Yeah.
memories back. Ocarina
Yeah.
of Time on the 3DS.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But we've talked about that too much, I think.
So yes. So let's see. Also opening up this week, I almost forgot to mention there is a new Unearthed Arcana that has been released. Nothing exciting, nothing super exciting. There's no new subclasses or anything, but it is basically stuff for DMs for woodland travel, and basically how to, if your players get lost in the woods, how to make it even worse for them. Is the best way it could be described. Yeah, it's about
Rodents of unusual size.
And
giant
then-
spiders, you know.
Yeah.
And then owl bears burst out of the woods.
Owlbear don't care.
we on that Sunday game. I'm sorry, but on that Sunday
We're
game,
listening. Go
we have a what's basically a miniature owl bear, and it's an actual regular size owl bear that we have shrunken down to basically pet size. We keep it in this little cage, and we just like feed it, you know, whatever, and the ranger's trying to train it so it'll become his pet. So far, it hasn't worked, and he's lost 1 full finger, but the
Owl
rest
bear
of it's
don't
fine.
How many half?
Appropriate.
Well, no, 1 full finger because it's the same finger he keeps poking in there. Because if he loses more of that one, he doesn't care because he already lost a bit of it. But now it's completely down to like, you know, the
Owlbears.
bottom. Yeah.
Owl bears are remarkably stupid. Trickle down economics is a viable form of economic system.
So, yeah, we'll link it and share it here eventually. But there's a bunch of really good stuff. I perused it pretty quickly today. It's just a lot of tables and charts for, you know, people getting lost and navigation checks and, you know, fun ways to
Like good old Avalon Hill outdoor survival charts.
yeah, the old first edition, you know, getting lost in the woods on the way back to town kind of stuff.
Will this water
Which
make you poop?
which honestly, if you're, you know, like you haven't had time to prep for a game at all, just, you know, taking this table for a spin might be a good idea. It's like, oh yeah, they were traveling through the woods. Let's get them lost.
Tyrannosaurus Rex attacks.
I have no plans for today. But let's get on to the meat of the show. We are doing Villains Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, starring everybody here. So
Yeah, we're all here.
last week,
Except for our temporary co-host, Clint.
yeah, our sometimes host Clint. We are technically 2.5 DMs. So last week we went over theory, you know, the archetypes, what you expect, you know, what you can expect and what you are putting into your villain. Also including one of my favorite things, the conspiramid, a pyramid of conspiracies, because it's fun. You know, and how to set up organizations and how to do all the really boring stuff that isn't fun to tell your player, you know, that isn't fun to tell players about. Unless you enjoy being a DM where you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. Oh,
there's a bunch of people getting
the
paid.
possibilities. Yeah. This
Black
is
money.
this is the sexy stuff. This is the sexy part of villain DMing. This is
HR.
yeah, this is using it. This is actually using it in practice.
Yeah, not using the theory, using it in practice.
So, let's start off. Paul, because I want you to lead this off. What is your idea of a perfect villain? What is your favorite kind of villain to play?
I like playing the villain who completely is messing with the PCs and doesn't actually let them know what's going on. They're playing with them. Every time a player does something, it's actually somewhat feeding into their plan. In fact, in one of my recent games, I had a villain who was manipulating the PCs the entire time because every time she showed up, she would erase the memories of the PC who had met her, and she would give them instructions while they were, unable to respond.
After they got hit by that Men in Black stuff.
Yeah, so
I got
they'd been
plastic.
erased, and they said, "You're going to do this now," and they'd have to do it.
Yeah.
And the players would know what happened, but the PCs wouldn't. So it was a great moment of tension when the players are doing stupid. The PCs are doing stupid stuff, and the players knew it was stupid, but it was also what they had to do.
Okay.
So it's sort of a meta, like what's the word? A pathos.
Yeah.
Like they knew bad things were happening, but they couldn't do anything about it because they thought good things were happening in character.
No, that's actually that's really interesting.
You gotta have good role players for that, though.
Yeah, no, you do have to have people who aren't just going to be,
Yeah, my Friday group is excellent role players. They're probably the best I've ever had, honestly. But-
well, thanks.
sorry,
No.
I'm complimenting them. They're listening.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, that's good. So how does what would you view your process as, I guess, for the villain creation?
So a villain has to have a motivation. They have to have means, and they have to have a reason to be a huge jerk. Because
Yeah.
all villains are huge jerks unless your player's an evil campaign in which they're just people trying to stop them from doing horrible things. A villain has to have a reason to do things. They need to have a motivating reason. In this case, the villain I'm talking about had the reason that she wanted to change how the city worked.
Right.
She wanted people to change how they acted.
Okay.
They had to have a way to do it. And her ability was she could erase people's memories and rewrite what they would do on their person. Like she'd write, "You're going to say this to this person" on their chest, and they would have to do it.
Memento style.
Yes,
Bitchin'.
but evil.
But evil. Memento.
And the bigger reason, of course, is she's being manipulated by an evil, darker power. And I think,
Of
of course,
course.
a thing you have to notice is that players are often going to do things that completely change what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because players are a lot more inventive than you are when it comes to doing
No.
things that wreck your game.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the quote is from that German general whose name I always forget, "No plan survives contact with the enemy."
Clausewitz, I believe.
Or if you're going to go with Mike Tyson, it's,
Everyone has the plan until they get punched in the mouth.
you said it wrong. Everybody had the plan until they get punched in the mouth. That's how
All
you're
right.
supposed to say it.
So the thing you have to understand is that the villains are not going to be able to plan properly. So the problem is, of course, is many villains are smarter than you are. So a dragon, for example, is intelligence like 30 or something.
Yeah.
And being generous, I'm intelligence 16. And I'm tooting my own horn here. I'm not intelligence 30. So how are you going to plan that? The answer is that a villain needs to be able to interpolate things, and you need to sort of do that Sherlock Holmes things of, "Oh, well, you're dressed like this, and you've also got dust on your hands, which means that you've recently cleaned something, you've searched something, which means that you're going to do this thing."
Or-
those little gray cells, as Poirot says.
Yeah,
Or just cheat
yeah, just cheat.
if you're playing a super smart villain.
If you're playing a serious villain, just cheat. You can't possibly be as smart as your villain is, so just say, "Oh, they know what happened because they extrapolated, and they're smarter than you, so they figured it out.
Because he's a wizard.
Yeah, no, that's what I've had to do. I mean, I've been
They're
using
3 steps ahead of you."
Yeah, I've been using Vecna now for the last 5 months because after my players in my Wednesday game beat my favorite villain I had ever made, they
Sorry about
they
that.
Are you running a Taldori campaign?
no.
Oh, okay.
Sadly. No, it's I was just like, I was wondering what could really challenge them next because so their first villain, and I guess to get into my side of things, my favorite villain to run to use on players is a narcissist because again, I do love a very role play heavy campaign. I love a lot of political interaction and action.
Intrigue.
And I love when all my players get into character and we're all having that good time. But especially when I get to have a few drinks, I get to play the villain, and I just get to tell them how I'm better than them the entire time for about 30 minutes. You know, just for every interaction they have with that villain, I can just sit there and just go, "You're nothing. You're shit. You're garbage. You're literally beneath me. Look at me. I'm better than you. I'm better at everything."
I'm better in every conceivable way.
And also, that really, really pisses players off.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
one of the easiest ways I've ever found to just piss off a player because, I like to throw a lot of softballs to my players, you know, because they're supposed to be badass action heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And you want them to feel like badass action heroes. You know, look at that. You single-handedly won a bar fight with nothing more than a stick and a can-do attitude.
I mean, Dungeons & Dragons is a game which you have random people ascending to become uber powerful characters. So
Yeah. And so,
this isn't Dark Heresy where you're going to struggle to have a fist fight with, you know, a random hobo.
yeah. You know, but I love the idea then that, or where it makes it super easy for players to get their jimmies rustled, if you will, is, you know, you just play it. For me, I just have to play a narcissist, turn up the smack talk button until it breaks, and then just watch them just go, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to stab him. Just let me at him. Let me at him. Watch.
I'm going to murder him.
I'm going to kick his ass so hard. Just watch. Like, I've literally had my players, like, I mean, Jim, obviously you would not know him, but Helen, Paul, you both know Tom.
Oh, yes.
My beloved vampire, Oliver Ryzen, once told that paladin straight to his face that he was nothing, and then, you know, he's not going to be able to do a damn thing. And Tom was literally walking around the room, like, acting like he was getting ready to hit me. He was so mad. He's like, just let me at him, dude. I just want to tear him apart. Just let me at him. Let me fight him, Jake. Let me fight him right now.
It's one of the things that this is completely only somewhat off topic, but people tend to play characters that have something in common with them.
Yeah.
So if you insult that thing, that tends to make them very upset. But the good thing is usually that makes them upset at the character, not at the game master.
Yeah. No, which, again, works perfect. Which
And
is,
obviously don't go for the really weak points in the person. That's kind
I'm big on narcissists, though, because they're fun. Because, again, you just get to, you sit down at your weekly, you know, playing a game, drinking session, and then you just, as the DM, you instead of being like,
low-key roast your players.
yeah, just low-key, yeah, just send all of them to the burn unit.
And low and slow.
But Jim,
Yes.
you're a game master.
Yes.
What kind of villains do you like playing?
So I like to level my especially my campaigns. One shots, you know, it's a different story, but
Yeah.
the campaigns, I have 3 different levels of villains. Every player has a nemesis who is a villain to them and them specifically.
It's a good choice.
So, just as a quick question, how big are your games?
Usually, like the Friday night game, there's 5.
Okay.
5 players. Some maybe now there's 6. There's maybe a guy that's going to join us.
Okay.
About 5 players. So every
6
player
is about as big as you can get.
yeah,
Easily.
5 players, but every character has a nemesis. Now, whether or not they ever meet their nemesis, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on happenstance, where they are, and every NPC that I create, I give a life. So in between game sessions, I'm saying, okay, they're going here, they're doing this, because this is why, and blah, 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 and if they just happen to be where their nemesis is, they might actually meet up, unless they're specifically specifically pursuing them.
Do they know they have a nemesis?
No, they don't.
Ooh.
Well, one
Sometimes.
knows that she has a nemesis because she's being chased and she's on the run.
So, question.
Yeah.
Are you saying nemesis? It sounds like you mean the historical, like the mythological meaning of nemesis is in your evil twin, so to
No.
speak.
No. So nemesis means, like, I'll give you an example. So I have a fighter who his backstory, and I always use the backstories to come up with the
excellent
nemesis.
choice.
Yeah, again, let
So-
your players do the work.
Right, exactly. So his backstory was that he was a dungeon delver. He'd go in, he'd get, you know, these riches, and he'd take them and sell them for the thing, sell them for profit. And that was like his thing before this campaign kicked off. Well, his nemesis was this elf that was, and when he asked him, "Who are you?" he said, "I'm you." 5 minutes later, because the nemesis was the guy that found the same secret crypts that the character did, had gone in there and found that it had already been looted by the character. And every time he got to a new location, he found that it had been looted by that character. So then he became obsessed with him to the point where he was going to track him down and end him because
So he couldn't get robbed.
so he couldn't because that's how he saw it. He saw it as he was being
He's getting
robbed of all this time and energy that he had put in to find these places, and then turns out that nope, that guy got there just before he did, and if he had been 5, 10, 15 minutes sooner, he could have been the one to loot the place.
Right.
So when I say nemesis, that's what I mean, is somebody who has a vendetta against that character for whatever reason.
Yeah, makes sense.
The second level of villain is the villain that doesn't know they're a villain.
Okay.
It's the villain that is being manipulated by a higher power. They are a bad guy, but they don't know they're a bad guy because a good villain always thinks that they are the hero of their own story.
Yeah.
Nobody believes they are the villain of their own story.
Nobody believes that they are the villain of their own story. They are always the hero of their own story, and they're doing what they feel is correct.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So that's like the second level of villain. Then there's the third level of villain, which is what
The big bad
the
evil
big baddie,
guy.
the top tier villain that is
Everything
pulling.
so far has been according to my plan.
Right, exactly. And those, even they are the hero of their own story, but their motivations, might be strictly, I want to become the most powerful being in the universe, and
Yeah.
I will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I'll make the world a better place when it happens.
And I will make the world a better place. Like the campaign that I'm running on Friday night now, the big bad is actually, for the very end campaign, and the characters aren't going to get there for a while. But the big bad is going to end up being basically this is a god
Yeah.
that have basically the concept is he wants to destroy the material plane and reshape it in his own image, break the divine gate so that he can cross and basically turn the material plane into his own playground. And by doing that, he can control everything, and there will be no more wars. There will be no more poverty because they will all be beholden to him.
Yeah.
Like, he will wipe out strife and grief and all that kind of stuff like that because he will be able to control everything. But in order to do that, he has to destroy the world.
Now.
Is basically what it is.
Progress will be possible without change.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Beholden to the dawn machine.
The sun, the sun, the sun.
The sun.
The sun. Yeah. No, so yeah, we did that. We did a lot of harping on that last week of, best villains are villains who don't think they're the villains, which is, again, like, whenever you're doing your writing for your villains, just as a, like, brief, back to last week, make sure they seem reasonable unless they have a really good reason to be, like, comic book ridiculous.
If you're
Right,
talking like
yeah.
the Reapers from Mass Effect, they can be completely incomprehensible and have motivations that don't make any sense. But again, you have to cheat to make that make sense. Like, oh yeah, they just know what you're planning. They know in advance because they're smarter than you.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you have to make a character like
Or
A
you
has
can-
to follow from B.
Or you can just ruin the Reapers from Mass Effect in 5 minutes at the end of Mass Effect 3 and just make the entire series completely worthless.
Yeah.
Thanks, BioWare. I love you. I did once.
I still do.
I
I
the
still do.
BioWare that existed doesn't exist anymore. I'm
Yeah, I know.
afraid.
It's just I had so much love in my heart, and it was just turned to ash. It was just it's gone.
But we can have an entire episode.
Yeah, we
crap
can.
talking about Mass Effect.
No,
later.
we'll make that YouTube video of just me and you, Paul, standing across a room from each other, just shouting about what Mass Effect 3 did to us, and how hurt I am. I'll even bring AJ on the show as a guest star just to why. But
Anyway,
back
Moving on.
to back to the main villain theme.
back
So
to D&D.
yeah, but that actually is a good point too. That is another one of my favorite, like just as a thing to table, one of my favorite villain types, other than the very confrontational, like Lord or like the vampire or whatever that your players constantly bump into. Like he's a physical presence. He shows up and he's like a good example
I'm
is
better than you. Oh, suck it.
well, a good example is actually Strahd from Curse of Strahd, because if you read through the adventure and you read like how to roleplay Strahd, like it even says it's like Strahd is literally supposed to be in your face 25/8. Like he watches
He's got
everything.
nothing better to do.
He is vampire emo Santa Claus. Okay, he knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Oh,
he
you
kind of
better
wants
watch
to
out.
die also.
Yeah, he also kind of wants to die, but he also kind of wants love, and he also kind of feels bad about murdering his brother, but also totally thinks his brother deserved it. Strahd is a great villain because he is just a mess of contradictions, and the only person that makes sense to is Strahd. And that, like, he shouldn't be a good villain because of it, but he's actually a great villain because of it, because you can take him any which direction you want to.
And it was Strahd. Depending on how the players react, depending on how you play him, Strahd can actually become a very sympathetic character.
Yeah.
Strahd can even be the good guy.
And that's the other thing too, is if you depending on how you want to play it, you can make Strahd be the good guy in the story, and that the heroes are actually the villains.
Thankfully, Strahd is here to save the world from the protagonists.
Right, exactly.
But apart from those like very confrontational villains, which I still think that the best villains normally are confrontational. But
I could talk about non-confrontational villains. I've run a couple of them.
yeah, I was going to say, though, that's my other favorite to run. The mysterious, the Reaper type from Mass Effect.
We are beyond your comprehension.
Yeah, the Eldritch
we have no
being.
beginning, we have no end.
Yeah, the Eldritch being, the Lovecraftian type stuff, cosmic horror. Basically, mind flayers is what I'm getting at.
Our creator and our destroyer.
Yeah.
Mind flayers or the Elder Brain?
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
Both.
oh, okay.
Okay.
The Mind Flayers serve the Elder
I was
Brain.
going to say, because mind flayers to me are very. I mean, if you're going to put a mind flayer into the campaign for any reason, they're usually going to be very prevalent. Because they are doing the actions of the Elder Brain, and the Elder Brain is the thing that's in the background.
It's like intelligence 40 or something.
Yeah, like pulling all the strings or
it's
whatever.
more than that.
Yeah.
It's not even pulling all the strings. It's pulling all of your strings too, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I love what I love about the Mind Flayer, because they're the best example, I think, in the monster manual, in like just the presented material that we have without going into homebrewy stuff. But they are the best example of something that's alien.
Yes,
in the
it's
monster
completely
manual just for 5th
incomprehensible
edition.
to us.
Yeah, like their goals, their motivations, you can present them in a way that everything they're doing doesn't make sense, because you have Orc War Chief, right? You know, if Orc War Chief is going to be your villain, he wants 3 things. He wants more land, he wants more power, he wants, more blood, maybe,
More blood, maybe.
Yeah,
Just
maybe.
He could touch or go on that. If he gets more land and more power, he could pass in the blood.
Yeah, exactly. But, an Orc Chieftain's goals are very simple. A king from a rival country, his goals are very simple. Mind
He
Flayers,
wants your land.
Yeah, Mind Flayers start showing up, leaving, empty heads, putting, what are they called? They're little brain dog things.
The intellect devourers.
Yes.
Anyone who knows Neverwinter Nights would know.
Yeah, intellect
Good game, I
devourers
recommend
start taking people over. You've got
The body snatchers we reviewed earlier.
Yeah.
Reviewed earlier.
You can play the classic gag on your players. What is this, brain sucker doing? It's starving!
the brain sucker. Yeah, a bunch of bodies with their brains sucked out of their heads and stuff. It creates a great, terrifying mystery, and it's one of those things like where I love them as a villain is the more you learn, you find the less you know. Like you can find a bunch of their writing, and it even says in the monster manual, everything it says about Illithid writing is like, it's kind of like Braille, and it's really hard to understand. You could, and they rarely take notes, but say you do find a note, and stuff, and it's like,
It's Sanskrit.
yeah, it's Sanskrit, and you finally, you
It's
take it to a
Sanskrit
wizard.
as described by the schizophrenic.
Yeah. You take it to a wizard, you get it decoded and broken
I have
down,
no idea
and,
what this means.
and it turns out you still actually know even less than you did going in. Or they give you some ominous, just like,
They describe 6 or 7 organizations of which you know nothing about and all how they relate to this object.
yeah, and then suddenly it's just like,
Okay.
what?
Yeah.
I thought I was just fighting Illithids. Now I'm fighting 6 different sects within the Illithid
Right.
about what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I absolutely adore doing that, because for a mystery campaign, now granted, you usually need like another antagonist at the same time kind of driving things, but like, and have that just going as a constant subplot, just like right underneath the surface, and every now and again, hey, Mind Flayers show up. That and Mind Flayers are just terrifying, because one of them is a CR7. You have 10 of them show up every.
Or without class levels.
Yeah.
Like your average Illithid peasant is CR7.
Yeah. The Bruce Willis of Illithids is like CR15.
He's crawling through your vents and pulling your brains out of your head.
Throwing people off a roof. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Candle Nights.
Yeah. Happy Candle Nights. Yippee-ki-yay.
Don't try to push me. An adventurer tried to push me once. I ate his brain with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
No, Illithids are a lot of fun, just because they are that. And then, I've taken some time to do, like, I've done some Lovecraftian stuff, because old gods are scary.
Oh, yeah.
Old gods are scary and spooky.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Illithids are just, the random peasants as far as Azazoth is concerned, the nuclear chaos at the heart of the world.
Yeah, the heart. Yeah, in the center of universe where, demons dance around him, piping their musics, and it just
Just to
grows.
prevent him from awaking.
Yeah, and he just grows and grows and grows. Damn, I wish Lovecraft wasn't such a racist. Otherwise, he'd be a lot more accepted and more in culture.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the best things about Lovecraft were not written by Lovecraft. I can
Very
tell you.
true. Oh well.
He talks so much about how much he hates fish and squid. What a loser.
The man's dead. We need to have a little respect, Paul.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks like he swallowed a frog in every picture you've taken.
I mean, you ain't wrong.
Picture you've taken.
You ain't wrong. So,
All right, that's enough of that. I mean, I'll stop insulting the dead here.
yeah,
so.
let's stop insulting Lovecraft and let's get back to what we're doing. So, other fun villains that anybody has run here. Anybody other got any?
I did. It was a 2-shot campaign. I did one where the adventurers met up with a guy, and they were told they had to go kill the big bad on the other side of the continent because he was poisoning the land, and so on and so forth. And they went there and they killed the big bad, only to find out that the original guy who gave them the quest was actually the big bad, and that they had just killed the only thing keeping him at bay. So then they had to go up against the real big bad who had been manipulating them the whole time.
So it's like Saruman told them, "Hey, go kill this Gandalf guy. He's a jerk."
So yeah, basically what it
Got
basically
a
what,
deal, an offer you can't refuse.
yeah. So basically what it was is, he brought them and said, this thing is poisoning our lands, and it was kind of funny too because it could have gone south real fast, but I had them the entire land was under an enchantment, and they had to make every so often I would make them make a wisdom saving throw. If they succeeded on a DC of I think it was a DC of like 25, they would have noticed that what they saw was corruption was actually like very beautiful, and the corruption was actually more where the other guy was, but they all failed all of their checks. So they killed the big bad, only to find out. So then they had to go on a quest to kill the big bad, and that was the whole thing. Was I wanted them to specifically get so angry that they had been manipulated that they would just immediately attack him without a plan. And if they had done that, it would have been a TPK.
Oh, yeah.
But they took a second and they went, we're coming after you. And they organized, they got other groups together and then went after him. And then they were able to just barely defeat him, but they were able to defeat him.
There you go.
Yeah. And he was an archdruid.
Oh yeah, I think. Sorry, go on. I completely stalled on my line of thought there.
There you go. Well, I was going to say too, though. I mean, that is something I don't see people do a lot of in the back of Volos and the Monster Manual, and also there's some if you have the Tome of Beasts by Kobold Pressed as well. There is a bunch of like just stat blocks for human NPCs or human or standard race NPCs, and I never see that get used enough because
I
there's so
use
much.
those all the time.
Yeah, it's
I know,
one of
I
the things that's
love
weird
them
is
to
that
death.
you can have a dragon as your villain, but that gets kind of old. You can have a lich as your villain, that gets kind of old. But the end of a 15th level NPC is probably going to be one of your standard races as like a wizard, cleric, or druid.
Yeah,
Because they can just say, "Oh, you're going to scry or die me? Too bad I'm a mile away and there's 16,000 skeletons waiting for you at the end
Right.
of your teleport goal."
Yeah, and I use a lot of those like as like minor. I wouldn't even call them villains. They're just the bad guys.
more of an
for-
antagonist.
An antagonist. So like in the Friday night campaign, the characters were sent off on a quest to take this prince to this mystical land that they had just heard rumors about. And the entire time that they're going there, they're constantly being attacked by these cultists who use bandits as kind of their like
Intermediaries?
yeah, they're like go get that kid. So the bandits go and they're just basically the cannon fodder for the thing, while the
Yeah.
cultists are trying to do whatever. But the cultists are actually working for another person who's actually working for another person.
Who's
but
working
I use
for an evil god.
Yeah.
or
who's
whatever.
working for an evil god.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Pyramid in action, yeah.
Have any of you ever read the Deathgate Cycle by
I have not.
Wait, Deathgate Cycle. describe
Deathgate
it.
Cycle? So basically, the world was blown up nuclear war. The world was blown up. So all magic came back. The world, the races, dwarves, elves, all that stuff like kind of came back. And then this group of magic users called the Sartan sundered the world, created 4 realms: earth, water, fire, air, and then created this labyrinth where they put their enemies in. And the entire thing takes place with this one character named Haplo, which goes around and he's trying to basically figure out how to open up the death gate so that his master can have
Return.
control of the worlds and all kinds like that. But anyways, so I basically used that concept to create the universe that my Friday Night campaign is. So right now they're in the air world, not knowing that there's more worlds, but they're kind of coming to the end of, they're going to realize that, hey, there's other places to go. And I'm using that as kind of my setting for the thing. So
Makes sense.
the whole point of it, the whole point of everything is the cultists wanted to capture the prince because he carries a key to unlocking the chains, which then will release the god Bane, the evil god Bane, the god of destruction,
God,
which is
Forgotten Realms, right?
Yep.
I forget.
Is he Forgotten
yeah.
Realms? Yeah.
Well, no. Right now, he's just in the pantheos as being a god. It's a minor
Right.
god, but a god.
Just take whatever you want.
Yeah. So they're gonna release Bane so that he can destroy the material plane, and so that Asmodeus can bring it back together and create another level of hell in the material plane.
Okay.
So
Good choice.
but I'm using a lot of the like you said, Volos, stuff like that. Those human type characters as the cannon fodder for all this other stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And rarely do they ever come up against actual monsters per se, because monsters are easy. They're evil. They have no other
Yeah.
motivations for the most part except being
Until you send them against 2d6 flumps, and then they feel bad about killing them.
right.
'Cause
Exactly.
everybody loves a flump.
Right.
Oh no, you
exactly.
turn those down. They're helpless.
Oh no. Okay, so guys, we're gonna take a break really quick, but before we go on break, it's just gonna be a quick little 5-minute deal, so we can refresh our drinks and all that stuff. Hit the potty, because we're going for another 45 minutes today. So yeah. But before we do that, just a reminder, we got a giveaway going on. Once we reach 500 likes on our Facebook page.
3DMs podcast at Facebook.
Yeah, we learned today,
Spelled
didn't
with
we?
letters.
Yeah. If you could post that in the chat, please. Yeah, if you head to our Facebook page and give us a like, once we hit 500 likes, we are gonna give away one book to 2 different people. So one book for each person. Obviously, I'm not gonna make you share it. This isn't custody rights or anything. You're not going to divorce court over this. Once we get to 500 likes, though, we're going to give away 2 books to 2 lucky listeners. Any book you want, as long as it's a 5e book. The only
And
thing,
not a special edition. But
yep, we're not going to give away any special editions because those are like $200 on eBay, and
We're not that
The
rich.
price varies, but sometimes they get up there. So, sorry.
Sorry, yes.
But yeah, no, help us grow our page. If you like the content, give us a like, give us a share, tell your friends, tell your mama, tell anybody you want. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. When we get back, I think we're going to have our first Thunderdome, gentlemen. And we are going to passionately defend what makes the best villain in 5e.
Okay,
So
that's all right.
stick around, guys. We're going to go get some drinks. We'll be right back. Go like our Facebook page. We love you. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
You don't play any music or anything during your break?
Not while we're live, and we just cut it for the
Okay.
recording. Not this episode.
Sorry.
Some secret declaration, I guess.
We're not entirely back here, but I figured I'd talk briefly about it since we have here. Jim,
Yes.
MMA. I was going to talk briefly about. I felt that this is a personal topic that we've not mentioned on the show. Is that the monk in Dungeons and Dragons?
Are we back on?
We're not on technically. We've got
I don't know
the
if
sound
we
going,
put
but we're
the-
technically on break.
Did you put the sound back on?
I don't know.
I think
No,
he.
it's not.
I was going to say, I thought he muted everything.
If he did, then I guess I'm talking like an idiot. So
I don't know. I don't know enough about the computer, and I mean, I know the soundboard because I've done sound stuff, you know, in theater, but I don't know anything about the computer.
I've been with a sound engineer for 3 years. Like, we were very seriously dating, and I have really no idea what
Yeah, I understand all that. I just don't understand what's on that.
I mean, it's a tricky topic. It's something you have to go to school for.
Are we recording? Is
No,
what the
we might be
question.
on still
No.
mute.
Okay.
Technically,
Unmute.
technically the video is still going, but
Okay.
So we've been just sort of gesticulating at each other for a while here. I was going to briefly have a moment to talk about since you're the underhand fighter.
We're back now,
undercard.
okay.
You're the undercard fighter. I was going to talk
Undercard,
about
yeah.
the monk very briefly before we get back into things.
Sure.
Do you think that it would be possible for, say, example, a monk subclass where they use fighting, like strength instead of wisdom for their abilities? Where instead of having, oh, you're so in tune with your ki, you can slide up walls. That you're so ripped, you can slide down walls slower.
Your muscles just grip the wall
Okay.
like a damn gecko.
I see. Here's the thing. It depends on how you're looking at it. So a lot of the monk class and a lot of like martial arts, where a lot of MMA came out of, is based on Eastern philosophies of Japan, China, Korea, places like that, and
India
they are
especially, but-
yeah, in India, but they are very much in tune with the inner body, the chi of the inner body, and that mysticism is what plays heavily into the monk class, and also you know, I mean, some people say that Bruce Lee, for example, he had the 1-inch punch. Some people are saying that it was just the physics behind it, that he could push people back from 1 inch. He could punch you and you go flying back, you know, a good 5-10 feet or whatever. Other people say that he was channeling his chi into his hand and then punching, and it was the chi that was pushing them back. Both are kind of relevant. So I can see a monk class where it's strength based, but at the same time, if you do that, then you're kind of taking away the mysticism of the monk and the whole wisdom and the wisdom saving throws and all the effects that you can put on the body. And then you're getting away. Then you would have, okay, well, so you're not using ki anymore. So how does that relate to all these different abilities that the monk could have? So
Yeah.
I kind of like what they did with the monk class. I like that it's a good balance.
I agree with it, but I feel like many Dungeons and Dragons players have this sort of problem with Eastern philosophy. And I see many people complain that the monk doesn't fit because they have to add this Eastern stuff to their Western European fantasy. And I want the equivalent of like Heracles, where you just punch somebody so hard they just die.
See,
Well,
I don't necessarily agree with that, because the bard is very much an Eastern philosophy archetype. The concept of using song and dance to weave spells or stuff like that actually comes from the No theater of Japan. Comes from the I don't know the actual name, but I'll call it Bollywood. Out of India, and
I don't know either. I'm an Eastern history major, so I should really know this. but-
yeah, I can't think of it either. But
I know what you're talking about, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Many people,
so
of course, argue that the bard is an evolution of the skald, the Norse song poets.
well, it borrows a little bit from that, but I see the bard being more of the you know, an example. So geishas, their songs are supposed to have healing quality, and that's why they train for so long. So, you know, the bards, when they sing, when they inspire somebody, it comes from the inspiration, I think, of the bard comes more from the Nordic philosophies, and the healing, the manipulating of the energies kind of comes more from the Eastern, you know, kind of philosophies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and clerics, actually, clerics are like the original clerics were actually Muslim.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
So
still
I
what
mean,
you call like a Muslim scholar.
Although I'm sure
Yeah,
many people would debate
exactly.
that strenuously because
Well,
they don't like thinking about Muslims having any positive contribution.
actually, if we had in the military, I was a combat medic, and I've studied medicine for quite a while now, and it's sad, but if Western society had
Using air quotes
adapted.
for the podcast.
Yeah, I know we're on video. That's why I did the air quotes. If they had adapted the practices of 13th century Muslim
Caliphate, my
physicians,
boy.
yeah, the Muslim physicians
During the Muslim Golden Age.
Like,
there would
it's-
like things like the Black Plague would have never happened.
Well, they would have happened, but it
because-
would have been a lot lesser.
Well,
honestly.
not necessarily, because one of the philosophies, especially of the Muslims and stuff like that, is that when there is a rat population, when there's anything that can cause disease, you immediately exterminate it before it gets too big.
Yeah, you get it out of there.
You get it out of there. You keep things clean. You wash your utensils before you use them. You sterilize your medical equipment. You know, we as a Western society didn't reach what they were doing in the 13th century until the late 1800s.
I think
I agree.
actually it was Avicenna who removed a kidney stone on I think himself.
Yeah,
And then lived several more years.
I
and then was
think you're
poisoned.
right. I think you're right. Yeah.
And then
So,
was poisoned.
Thank
He
you for
didn't
that.
die
I
of
Yeah, you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
All right.
I think my personal belief is, before we move on to
Yeah.
the actual topic of this episode, is I feel the obsession with what somebody could realistically do, binding monks and rangers and paladins stuff, is going to be the death of this hobby.
Well, and here's the thing, and this is what I always say: you're arguing over semantics on something where dragons exist, magics exist, and you can literally jump off of a mountain,
Right.
and if you roll high enough, you can just fly.
As someone
for
with-
no other reason than you rolled a natural 20.
Because you
Yeah.
have a spell called Fly. As a medievalist, whenever somebody's like, "Oh, it's not historically accurate to have black people in something," I'm like, "This game has dragons."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
It
fight- I'll
has
fight you on the
mind
moon.
flayers. It has elder brains.
If you're willing to have like,
you have to suspend disbelief.
I'll fight you on the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
but thank you for that. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're welcome.
I
Anyways,
agree with your philosophy.
All right.
We
Wrapping
should move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just my couple of bits, because you guys had it all tight, packed pretty tight there. Hard to get a word in. One,
That's why it's a 3
barbarian monks are a thing. You can do barbarian monk multi-class in 5e.
You could, yes.
And I've played one to great effect.
Yeah.
I had an NPC, and I'd lightly planned him, and I was like, oh yeah, no, this just sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And he showed up to help the party, and he
Yeah.
was basically the sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
Was, that's how I justified him. He's a monk, but he's 6'8",
He's a beast.
400 pounds. He's a big
Yeah,
old
yeah.
boy. And
He's not so much redirecting the strength as he's just punching you in the face.
as he's just punching, yeah, and I just I gave him like some simple magical gauntlets as his weapon, and then like he did like 100 with his flurry of blows and stuff. He wound up doing like 112 damage
I
in
did.
one turn.
I did a monk druid one time.
It's a good choice.
And when you can B shape and do flurry of blows,
Oh, damn.
ooh.
I'm just imagining
that gets-
a bear
Yeah.
taking a kung fu stance and just beating the shit out of
It
people.
was basically actually just to make it fun. We decided that pandas existed in the
Kung Fu
world.
Panda,
Oh,
thank you.
nice.
And I became Kung Fu Panda. I
Nice.
became Poe.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god!
Yep.
Actually, that's really good. Come to think of it, because all attacks
Yeah.
from a wild shape are unarmed attacks.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
So you're using flurry of blows as well as unarmed attack. You still get to roll the monk die.
And this is why
Yeah.
Clint calls monks bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Angel Summoner and
Yeah.
BMX Bandit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, we need to share that video for our viewers later too, the Angel Summoner BMX Bandit, because we reference that way too much.
So
in case
good.
people don't know what it is.
I don't
also,
know what it is.
Yeah,
It's-
we'll send it to you.
okay.
It's,
We'll share it with
it's
you.
it's
All
good.
right.
It's good
We'll
stuff.
show you after.
All right.
But so let's get everything back on track. Hey, welcome back. We're 3M's podcast, and we're doing the second half of our show right now. Yada,
We've talked enough about our off-topic
Yep,
stuff.
we've
so.
talked enough about our off-topic stuff. Again, for anybody who's joining in now and doesn't know what's going on, I'm Jake. That's Paul. This is Helen. Clint couldn't be here today, and Jim from the Undercard is joining us today.
Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PodcastDetroit.com.
Thank
have
you.
to
I was
listen.
going to say, so yeah, if you really quick, just because you are sharing the studio space with us,
Yeah.
and I plan on sharing the studio space with you soon.
Yes.
Just give anybody who is listening right now, anybody who might be interested, just give them the rundown of the show.
So basically, we were one of the first, if not the first, podcast to combine both boxing and MMA. We cover both. We also, because we are a bunch of nerds and geeks and stuff like that, we do talk geek culture, nerd culture, pop culture, current events, things of that nature. But mostly our focus is with boxing and MMA. We've been in April. We will have been doing it for 5 years. We actually
Wow.
started in way back in the day. We started with Dave and Bob, the guys that founded Podcast Detroit.
Dave was our very first guest.
Yep.
Yeah.
We started at a old studio called Raw Radio X in the Russell.
My band went
Yeah.
and did Karen's show back in the
Okay.
day.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
so-
at the Russell. Yep. And then when Dave and Bob left and started Podcast Detroit, we came with them. We were at the old Ferndale location and then came here when they came here. So, yep, in April, it'll be 5 years. I think we're on episode 235 or something like that.
Wow.
Wow.
I
So,
only
yeah.
found 119 on your SoundCloud, by the way.
Yeah, that's because all the shows before we started at the Ferndale thing were not podcasts. They were just live radio. We didn't go into podcast format until we joined up with Podcast Detroit.
Okay.
So that's
Makes sense
why,
to me.
yeah. And some of them, and there are some lost episodes where we thought we were recording, and it went out live, but it didn't record.
It's okay.
Believe it or not,
We
we're only 17 episodes in. We already have 2 lost episodes.
we've had that happen twice.
Nice.
So yeah, okay, yeah. So anybody wants to get MMA boxing news, go check out the undercard.
Yep. And like I said, we're on live Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio 1. If you go to the Podcast Detroit website, you'll have a list of studios. We are in Studio 1.
Excellent. I'll have
Yeah.
to make sure to check it out. I've got nothing else going on at that time, so.
Yeah, and and I should be on hopefully this Tuesday.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
that's the-
absolutely. And I've tried to explain to Brad what D&D is and Rochelle, but they're like, oh, good, we'll have somebody come on who can explain D&D to us. And I'm like, I have been trying to explain it to you. And they're like,
I
yeah,
will do my best to legitimize your endeavor.
Okay. I was actually going to even, if it was like, just have you guys make like a really tiny, like, brief character and just have like an encounter happen during the show so they could actually physically see what exactly happens during
we can do
D&D.
that.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I've
I
got
will.
my session during that, don't I? I can bring them on.
Well, we could do that. I was just thinking.
Well, it would
that-
just be a short little 10-minute like blurb of, okay, so you walk in, you see this,
Roll
blah,
for
blah, blah, roll for initiative.
Oh, trust me,
This
no.
is what
I've
happens,
already got
yeah.
a plan. I've already got a plan, and it's going to be great.
All right, perfect.
Just
Let me know if I need to bring my books or dice.
no, I'll bring
We
my
got
books.
everything.
I've got the kit. I've got the fisherman's bag over there.
All right.
So, but moving on with the show.
Yeah.
Before we started today, since we knew we were going to talk about villains, before we get into the Thunderdome of what is the best monster.
Thunderdome.
Yeah, monster. What is the best monster manual villain? I asked you a question, Jim.
Yes.
If you could take any martial artist, boxer, MMA person other than Conor McGregor, because Conor McGregor is the easiest answer
Right,
I
of
could
course.
think of, because he's such a lovable dick. If you
He's
could
a
make
heel. He's the best heel.
if you could make any villain out of anybody from MMA, boxing, martial arts, and base a campaign around him, who would it be?
Bruce Lee.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Bruce Lee. And
heard
here's why. The Bruce Lee would be the best because he already has some kind of mystical aura around
Magic
him.
powers.
And
Maybe.
magic
So he can't just
powers.
be held person and beat
Mystery.
to death.
An aura
Right,
of
but
mystery.
he would be a super powerful monk, way of the open fist, of course. But his driving force is that he actually, instead of ignoring the prophecy that was Bruce Lee's surrounding him and his death and all that kind of stuff like that, he would actually take steps to try to prevent that. And by having this obsession over preventing his own death, he becomes the big bad because he starts doing things that are morally ambiguous to evil to try to prevent his own death. And then they have to go stop him because he's basically ruining the lives of
Hundreds of other people, basically.
hundreds of other people, because what he's doing is going to put the world in danger if he doesn't stop what he's doing.
So, Jake,
Yeah.
here's my take on this. Do you think he becomes a lich, like a high wisdom wit lich, or a worm that walks?
I think he becomes the Undertaker,
Oh, yeah.
and he
He
can
teleports
teleport
when the lights are off.
when the lights are off, and he can control lightning.
Only when the lights are off.
But well, no, because my other thought though, with that hearing that was, it actually makes me think back to one of the things I do like from Pathfinder, because despite the amount of grief we give Pathfinder on this show, like we don't
Leave
hate.
Monk a crippled, broken husk of a class that they keep nerfing for no reason as it begs for death.
Yes, but you know, the part, you know, because we do take a lot of shots at Pathfinder, but there is a bunch of good stuff there. One of my favorite things is they have a god. Who I can't remember his name, but his whole shtick is basically he pulled a Buddha. He
Erevon?
no,
No.
might be he achieved godhood
Just by meditating super hard.
by becoming literally the perfect being, and
Not Killen Kid, who became God by becoming so drunk he doesn't remember how he became God.
yeah, no, this, like, you know, this guy is literally the idea of like the perfect monk, has trained his body and everything, you know, to perfection, and then one day he just literally ascended to godhood. And I love the idea of like Bruce Lee being a character because, you know, Bruce Lee is, you know, the reason, like when I was a kid, you know, my dad was just like, as soon as I was old enough, you know, that I was allowed to see blood and not freak
Yeah.
out, my dad was just like, guess what we're doing this weekend? You know, we're
Yeah.
watching nothing but Bruce Lee movies, you
Oh,
know, and
yeah.
obviously I fell in love. And, you
Enter
know,
the Dragon.
Oh yeah. I was
yeah,
gonna say,
yeah.
that's
and doing all the
informative.
Bruce Lee research and stuff. You know,
Game
it's
of
like,
Death.
oh god, Game of Death. But doing all the research and stuff on Bruce
Yeah.
Lee's life, you know, while he was, you know, like a remarkably well composed person and had excellent philosophy, he still was a bit of a hothead, and he
Yes.
was a known hothead, and I
Yes.
could see that as an excellent character flaw.
Yeah.
You know, and like he's trying to recreate like achieving godhood thing.
Well, it's not necessarily godhood. It's just there's a
Immortality.
not even immortality. It's he's
Complete
trying to
and total
get past.
perfection of self.
He's trying to get past. He knows that he's going to die in like
A certain way.
in
or
10
certain
years.
time. Okay.
He
Life
knows
is
in
hard,
10
so no one
years he's going to
survives.
die. So he's trying to do everything he can to prevent that from happening. So
Right.
That
he
time,
hears a
okay.
rumor that a guy in that village is going to grow up and be the one to kill him.
Ah.
So he destroys that village.
I see.
He hears a rumor that a cleric over on the other continent is going to be the one that heals the person that ends up destroying him. So he goes and kills that cleric. Things of that nature. And
Oh,
then
okay.
he starts to build on that to, well, if I keep doing this, then nobody will be able to come up against me, and I can live past that 10-year point where this is supposed to happen. And once that happens, once he passes that 10-year point, the power, the madness has gotten to him, and then he becomes this. He needs to consolidate more and more and more power,
Yeah.
so he can live an unnatural life.
And even past that, like, he's come so far, the atrocities that he's committed,
yes,
that if he just keeps going, he'll commit less atrocities and he'll be more justified in the atrocities he's already committed.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's who I would pick. He would be a 20th level monk, and probably by the
Very
time-
dangerous physically, not so dangerous as far as interpersonal connections.
Right. He would be like 20th level monk, and then also probably a few levels of something else. Maybe I'd probably say
Wizard, maybe?
no, not with. See, I don't like using the spellcasters.
You and me both, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he's probably 20th level monk and like 5th level fighter.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 5th level fighter. So yeah, that would make him uber dangerous. Because he would have
pulverize
flurry.
anyone in a single round.
I was gonna say because he would have flurry of blows. He would be able to do quivering palm. He would be able to do
Oh my,
all that stuff like that, and then he would also be able to use action surge to get more attacks, and he could do a massive amount of damage in one round.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, as a 5th level fighter, he'd be able to like 3 attacks around.
3
As a
attacks around.
20th level monk.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Attack with a bonus action, a flurry of blows, quivering palm, like just yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a shame Clint couldn't be here today because, obviously I had the same question planned for him. But I guess on my end,
Yeah.
if I were to pick one person
Yeah.
to be either an antagonist or a villain
Okay.
from all of boxing history,
Okay.
we'd have to go with the classic 1987 Iron Mike Tyson as just a pure beast enemy. And hell,
Okay.
even put Don King in there as like put Don King in there as the big bad guy. Right,
Okay.
with the great hair, and he does all the
Yep.
talking, but he's that villain. If you
Make
get
him a bard.
nah, he doesn't even have to be a bard.
Okay.
You just get him on his own. Like
Okay.
he's got 4 HP. Like
Okay.
the party gets Don King on his own. He's gonna
Right.
die.
Okay.
But they have to get through Iron Mike Tyson.
okay.
And Don King's there with that amazing eraser hair he's got. And he's just standing behind him, just like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And then Mike Tyson's in there. Yeah, bitch. What are you gonna do?
Let's
You
go.
know.
Let's go.
Let's
Come
go.
on. Let's fight. Let's fight. I really want to fight.
And stuff. And then, the fighter goes in there, and then Mike Tyson just tears his arm off, and then you're just like, oh, God.
Oh, sorry. Wrong thing.
No, but just the idea of, because actually Mike Tyson inspired one of my other favorite villains, that I've run, which is I took an orc and a vampire, and to quote Mr. Mike Tyson, I made them kith. And, now there's a 12-foot red orc vampire that runs around my campaign setting and just
Nice.
completely terrifies everybody that they run into. But Mike Tyson was part of the inspiration. Not the joke of Mike Tyson that way. No, to call Mike Tyson a joke nowadays would be rude. But not the
I know what you mean.
the sanitized Mike Tyson.
I know
we
what
have
you
today.
mean, yeah.
I mean, 1987 when you
knock
see
your
that
block off. Mike Tyson,
that
yeah.
video of him working the heavy bag, and you can
Yeah.
just hear it echoing through
Oh,
the
yeah.
room. Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean there were 1987. Mike Tyson is nigh untouchable. There are very, very few boxers, both past and present, who would have been able to stand up to him and not get knocked out. Sonny Liston would have maybe been one of them, but only because of his speed and possibly. But see, it's really hard because a lot of the big names now are not heavyweights, and Mike Tyson was a heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think Ali would have probably been Ali in his prime fighting Tyson in his prime.
That would have been
a
a
good
show.
It would have been a show, but it would have been a lot of Ali just pop backing out, backing out, just trying to make Tyson wear down. But Tyson, if he hit Ali just one time,
Would
I mean, no, because Foreman had the power of Tyson.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the impact of Tyson. And that's the biggest difference is power and impact. It's the kinetic energy behind the punch. Foreman swung big haymakers and he hit. And when he hit you hard.
Yeah.
But it didn't have that resonating impact that Tyson had. That
The key flow.
No,
That
this
key-
is,
yeah,
this is
exactly.
this is a
Yeah.
conversation I want to keep having because
Hold
I
my
do
beer for
love
that
classic
segue,
boxing,
yeah.
and I do think the decline of boxing also came with the decline of heavyweights.
Yeah.
But we got to get back to D&D.
Yeah.
And we have a Thunderdome to present. So,
All right.
Let's get to it.
everybody.
Give me the bell. You know me. I'm the thunder round.
You're on the bell duty.
Well, no, we're gonna. Everybody's gonna pick one here.
All right.
And I'd like to. I will take the scraps. That is fine. Through thorough investigative research,
Air quotes.
air quotes.
In 30 seconds.
I have gone through the monster manual itself for 5th edition, and I have before me what could best be considered the 4 best villains. Again,
As in
air
the ones that would
quotations.
be best villains rather than just a beat stick.
Yeah, better than a beat. You could base an entire campaign around these as a villain.
Okay.
And so these 4 are 3 of them are remarkably strong, and then one of them just has a lot of utility. Utility is vampire. Vampire being the weakest out of the 4, but their ability to obviously come back from the dead, because you destroy them, they return to their casket. Then they have a lot of great spells. They have mind control abilities. They can make thralls. They can do a lot of really good stuff. So vampires are out there. The other 3, dragons.
Oh, yeah, of course.
they're
There's a dungeon and there are dragons.
Yeah, dragons. They can polymorph at will. They can, they can self-polymorph at will if you give them spells or, goddamn, even add class levels to them. Woof. Woof.
A fighter dragon.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Taking a fire breath, he bites, tails, and then, flies, and then action surge. I'm going to do it all again. This time, for real. So the dragon is up there. Lich.
A good choice.
Which
excellent choice.
Yeah, it's one of the few like super buffs I've ever seen from Wizards of the Coast too, because Lich in 3rd and 3.5 was like, it was a mid-level villain.
They're basically wizards with some survivability.
Yeah, they were about 14 CR, but then come 5e, they steroided the hell out of them. They're 21, 22 CR.
Because at this point, you don't have to worry about PCs becoming liches because they're like, I'm going to sacrifice a village of babies to become invulnerable.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, that seems an acceptable trade.
And this last one, to be fair, I've never actually seen somebody base an entire campaign around this, but upon double checking the stats and looking at the numbers and everything in the book, I'm really surprised it hasn't happened, or I haven't seen it really happen in 5e, and that is the Kraken.
So you want us to all pick one?
Yeah, everybody pick one. But just really quick, just to like fluff what the Kraken can do other than its great lair. I mean, it's got 30 strength, which is the cap.
Several.
But it has 22 intelligence.
That's a lot of intelligence.
It's smarter than any human. It's smarter than Einstein.
Like a lot smarter than Einstein.
Yeah, the scary squid monster that swims in the ocean is also smarter than Einstein and can control lightning.
Lightning. Okay,
Now, to be fair, really quick, just to because we got a comment here, Thomas Alterzitz did throw out the Death Knight. The Death Knight was considered for this list, but I think that the utility the vampire has and its ability to create thralls overpowers the Death Knight's just sheer look at me, big dick swinging, showing up, dropping giant fireballs on people's heads. But the Death Knight is an honorable mention on this list. For sure. And also, I guess because we have had a couple of comments while we've been going on about boxing and Bruce Lee and other things that are
shenanigans. Yeah,
other nerd things that are closely related to D&D. Let's see. I would like to shout out to Kent Bettner. His favorite villain quote is pretty good. Basically talking about gods and how gods have to fight other gods and stuff for a campaign. Check it out if you're looking at our comment feed.
You'd like my campaign setting, Kent. Where
Yes.
gods fight each other for their god seeds all the time.
Yeah. But we got about 10 minutes here, so let's try to wrap this show up here.
Of course.
So who wants what? I will take the scrap.
I'll take the Kraken.
Ooh,
I was
Paul
gonna
with
take
the
that.
Kraken.
Womp.
All right.
Dragons are the only other thing I know about.
All right.
I believe that leaves you with the Lich, Jim.
Lich or the vampire.
I'll take the vampire.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah.
All right, then I will sit here and defend the Lich. So, gentlemen and lady, with your selected villain, how would you terrorize the countryside? We're going to try to keep each answer to a minute. Can I get the bell, please?
Here you go.
Thank you, sir. All right, so
Do you want me to start with the Kraken, the unexpected contender?
yes, the unexpected contender with the Kraken. What is your plot hook? What is the Kraken doing that is making? And this is going to be the same question for everybody. What is your blank doing that is attracting heroes to end its reign of
Terror. let's say.
bullshit?
So let's pause for a second. You know when these settings say, "Oh, you can do this in an aquatic setting," and nobody ever does it.
Yeah,
The Kraken completely circumvents that. You're going to be doing an aquatic setting. You're going to like it. The Kraken is completely disrupting all international trade and travel. This is a problem because it turns out in most of history, international trade and travel comes mostly through the ocean. And the
'cause it's
Kraken
fast.
can throttle a galleon in a standard action.
He crunch.
yeah.
So you're not going to do any trading whatsoever. So every country is getting really poor and really starving because the Kraken's just being a jerk.
He
Okay.
crunch.
Okay, so what is no? Okay, we'll just settle for that as that is what he's doing, and this
He
is,
wants to be a god, and for that he needs people to worship him.
Okay, all
He
right.
got to be scared.
I was about to get
So
to
you have to
goals.
worship him to not get murdered by the Kraken on the
So I have to
overseas.
make an initiative order here on the show for fun. So we got Paul with the Kraken. Jim has the vampire.
Helen is the dragon, and you
Jim.
have the lich.
Yep. Okay, so Jim, you are up. What is your vampire doing?
So the vampire and the vampire, you won't know it's the vampire.
Okay.
There'll just be stuff going on, just weird things that are happening in and around the countryside. Children are missing. There are cattle that are being destroyed. And as the adventurers get closer and closer to solving these mysteries, they find the thralls are the ones that are actually doing it. And eventually, as they go on down the line, as they go farther and farther down the hook, they'll eventually learn that there is a vampire that has basically been working on. Basically, his goal is he's alone. He's lonely,
And he wants
He's
to
the
have
only one of
friends.
his race, of his being that exists, and he feels lonely. So he wants the world to be like him. So he's trying to slowly turn the world into his own
Kind, shall we say, the
own
kindred.
kind or whatever. So and that is his ultimate goal. You
Okay.
know.
All right, so that is what he is doing, and that is what his goal. So for the dragon,
What's the dragon doing? Why are they interested?
yeah,
So, dragons usually only care about other dragons. Metallic dragons are good generally, and chromatic dragons are bad. Yes? Is that
Yes.
like
Correct.
a
This
is
canon?
correct.
yes.
You can't fuck with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, of course, there's good chromatic dragons, there's evil metallic dragons.
Right,
but
exactly.
we're getting into
your world, your
generalizations.
bullshit. Yeah, no, it's,
Yeah,
it's
anyways. So, gold dragon lives on the mountain. Very old, has been protecting, a city and shit for a long time. Has been important mining.
and what goes wrong? What makes them evil?
Yes.
Well, there's another dragon there. So the gold dragon has not been seen for a long time by the people of the village. They have been mining too much of the gold out of the mountain. The gold has run dry, and so the dragon is beginning to die, and her offspring, a red dragon, burninates the countryside.
Terrorize other people.
Burninating all the peasants in their thatched cottages.
Yeah, possible, by the way, because I did read a very interesting long-form post that I need to share on our page about metallics and chromatics crossbreeding and how that works, because that is a very interesting conceit, and I do like getting away from the monolith characters, like chromatics are evil, metallics are all good,
Where's your good black dragons? They struggle against racism, but ultimately they just want these help these swamp people live.
Yeah, there's ways to work around it. So yeah, so we'll go with that. There was some crossbreeding, and we got a baby red dragon who is now
or maybe an adult red dragon who's like, I still love you, but you are dying. And so the red dragon burninates the countryside because the gold dragon's heart of the mountain has been removed by
okay.
lady miners.
I'm about to pull a Kobayashi Maru
All right, let's do
and
it.
win my own damn game because I'm the host and I can.
You're the lich.
You're a
Let's do
diva.
this.
I'm the lich, and I'm just gonna run the most classic lich ascension story of all time. It's Vecna.
All right, works.
I mean, that's all I got to put out there. This is if you follow the story, because the story of Vecna is also the story of D&D. Interestingly enough, if you're like, one of these days we're gonna have that episode where we just like nerd out about the entire history of D&D and like because
I'm
there's
so ready.
there's a loose story that is told in D&D, but that story is mostly the story of Vecna, because in first edition he's just a wizard. In second edition he is a lich. By third edition he has ascended to demigod status after doing bullshit and shenanigans, and by fourth
Tomfoolery as well,
edition,
I'm sure.
by 3.5 he has reached godhood, and by fourth he is just big dick swinging, and here in fifth edition, I mean, like there's been no more movement on the Vecna like plot line that kind of exists.
There's nowhere else up to go.
Yeah, there's nowhere else up to go, but he like all the recipe pieces are here. So if I were to run a lich, I would be starting with second edition lich version of Vecna. He's the smartest person that's ever smarted, and he is working on getting to demigod status. And you're the party. Stop him. Good luck.
Plot against somebody so smart he makes the gods look like
Prevent
imbeciles.
Pathfinder from existing.
Yeah.
Kill him by third.
If
by third
only,
edition.
if only. Sorry, Paizo. You guys have messed up with Dungeons & Dragons too much. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't save you.
So the next question, and we got about one more minute on this.
let's leg it. Let's do it.
Yeah, on this brief Thunderdome here. So Paul, we're going to start with you here. Obviously, again, we're
I'm
gonna
listening.
go back around the circle with your character, because we've got goal, we got motivation.
Release the Kraken.
We got goal, we got motivation, and what they're doing that is attracting followers. How would you overarch? Or no, I phrased that badly. What would your main lieutenant be?
The main lieutenant is a merfolk.
Oh,
A merfolk cleric of the Kraken who believes that the Kraken is that which created the world, who created the seas, and whose land was stolen by the usurper gods.
okay.
And he must take it back to the Kraken and submerge all under the ocean.
How's he doing on his whole converting the merfolk society?
He's about 50% done.
Well,
I mean, most of the merfolk think he's crazy, but the remaining 40% are like, you're crazy, but you're also going to submerge all the land to the ocean, and we can live under the water, so let's do that.
okay.
In the water. Fish
right.
don't have no good metals to listen to.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right. So, Jim.
Mine would be a female death domain cleric who is in love with a vampire.
Ooh,
That's what I'm
sexy.
talking about.
Yeah, and she is the one that's pulling all the normal like day-to-day strings to like, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna do, or whatever. But she just wants to be loved by him, and he doesn't really love her, but he's using her.
Yeah.
But she wants to basically be his bride for all of eternity.
Okay. All right.
A tragic goal, but a goal
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Vampire classic. My Red Dragon's lieutenant would be a dwarven scholar, possibly some kind of caster, who realizes that this was a dwarven mining project that humans ruined, and that's why the dragon's sick, because they didn't mine properly, and so he is also set for revenge against the humans and to fix the beautiful dwarven city and rejuvenate the sick gold dragon.
Okay. All right.
Last but not least,
Yeah, last but not least. So, with Vecna again to
Can't be Lady Briarwood.
Yeah, nope, not gonna be that. I'm gonna do this instead. At some point, because obviously early on the party is going to interact with Vecna way before either of them planned on it, right? You know, because Vecna is a man about town. He's got a lot of thumbs and a lot of pies. He's very aware of what's happening.
his thumbs are on every pie.
Exactly. But then this new pie shows up that he wasn't aware of.
Gotta stick
He is going to kill one of the party, most likely. Not just by
Nothing
lightning.
personal,
Yeah.
just business.
Yeah, not by just lightning, fucker. But some way, like eventually one of the players is going to die. And when that player does die, he is going to get his hands on that player and reanimate them as his lieutenant.
Okay.
Ooh, nice.
That's a talk.
Yeah, effectively works as, and obviously you got to have that discussion with the player and you got to do all that back and forth. But if, you can make everything work, that is like a heart-wrenching encounter for the party.
Ooh, yeah.
Is
you
having...
gotta have good role players, though.
Yeah, you got to have good role players for it. But, that encounter between their dead former friend, who they now know is working for the guy who killed him.
More than that, it's not even a token for only good role players. It's even for bad role players, or I should say bad, but people who are not experienced. It's something that would allow them to develop from inexperienced role players to experienced
Yeah,
role
because
players.
it's, I view that as a really good growth opportunity too for, players to role play. Because again,
You're my friend, Anakin. You're my brother.
yeah,
We're
I
all
loved
rooting
you.
For you, Tiffany.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never shouted at a girl like this.
Yeah. So, sadly, guys, we're out of time. I had about 3 more questions. No, it's okay.
happens.
It happens. We're out of time this week. Once more, we're going to talk about our giveaway and we're going to do our farewells. So if you've enjoyed the content thus far, we are doing a Facebook giveaway. Please like our page on Facebook. Once we get to 500 likes on our Facebook page at 3DM's Podcast, that is 3 THREE, spelled the old-fashioned way, not the number, DMS Podcast.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, like our page. Once we get to 500 likes, we are going to give away 2 D&D books, non-special editions, 1 to each, luckily, randomly selected
We'll
liker.
sign them if you want to.
Yeah, and we'll sign them if you want it. But we're just trying to grow the page. So if you enjoyed the content, please give us a like, give us a share, tell people who you think might like about it. So as far as this debate goes, there are more things I'd like to do with it, but we ain't got the time. So
Time
Let us know let us know what villain you like the most. If you've been listening the whole time, give us some comments, send us some messages. We'll announce the winner next week, I suppose. That's the only way I can think of off the top of my head to wrap it up right now. We'd like to thank Jim from the Undercard for filling in this week on hosting duties and doing a cross-pod with us. I hope you had fun. We enjoyed having you, most certainly.
I love nerding out on D&D.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Listen
Thank you for joining us.
Jake and Jim and possibly Clint on Tuesday night at 7
7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
Here.
Studio 1.
on PodcastDetroit.com.
That is
Yep.
correct.
And well, I think that's pretty much it for us this week. So I'm Jake,
I'm Paul.
I'm Helen.
I'm Jim.
and thanks for joining us. Roll hot this week, and we'll see you next time. Now, if only the mouse will work, so I can end the damn show.
Be gone, thought.
Now be gone.
Play the exit. I'm waiting.
I'm waiting too. Computer's being slow. There we go.
Let's do it.
And we're done.